Good morning, guys. So what we have discussed in the previous session, do you guys remember what we learned in our previous session?
Validations.
Form validation.
Yeah, in the previous session, we discussed about form validations in the Spring Boot. So Spring Boot provided validation starter in order to implement form validations. And we have used some annotations also to implement form validations. Do you guys remember what are those annotations we have used to implement the form validations? What are the annotations we used to implement form validations in the Spring Boot?
Not empty.
Valid, not empty,
Email
not
and
null.
size.
Email.
So we used @not empty annotation. We used @not null annotation. We used email annotation, and we have used size annotation also as part of our form validations concept. So very good. And in the Spring Boot, I have given one assignment to implement login and registration functionality. How many of you able to complete that login and registration functionality, guys? How many of you able to complete that login and registration functionality in the Spring Boot? How many of you able to complete that login and registration functionality in the Spring Boot? Vishal completed that one. Vishal, can you share your screen and show me the implementation that you have done in this project? I'm giving you co-host permission, Vishal. Could you please share the screen and show me what is the implementation you have done for this one? What is the implementation you have done for the login and registration functionality? Guys, he is sharing the screen. All of you look at this.
Is my screen visible?
Yeah, Vishal, I can. It is loading. Yes, I can see your screen now. Yep, I can see that.
Please log in here. And this is the page. You can go to register here. You can register here.
Okay.
Registration successful. Now you can log in here.
Login is successful. Okay, log out.
Can I stop, sir?
Yes, you can stop it. So he is able to complete that project, whatever that we discussed, login and registration functionality by using Spring Boot. Okay, very good. So before getting started with our today's session, anybody having any questions or anybody facing any problems while doing the practice? If you are not facing any problem, then we will get started.
Ashok sir.
Yeah, hi.
Hi sir. Actually, while creating a Spring Boot project, now I have selected Gradle, so I'm unable to add that dependency.
Yeah, you create a Maven project. You delete that project and create a Maven project.
Okay. Ashok.
So Gradle is another build tool. So the way that we need to add the dependencies in the Gradle is different. So it's better. You create a Maven project. You delete that and create a Maven project for now.
Okay, Ashok.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good. Anyone else facing any other difficulties, guys? Anybody else facing any other difficulties while doing the practice, or any questions? Anybody got stuck anywhere while doing the implementation?
Sir, one question, sir.
Yeah, hi.
Sir, hi, sir. Oh, sir, what is the difference between model and model map? Two things is there, na?
Sir, model mapper is different. Model mapper is basically if you want to copy the data from one object to another object, we will use a model mapper. Model is used to send the data from controller to UI.
Yeah, sir. But I am using the model map also. Model
Mhm.
map also doing the same thing as a model.
Model mapper is different, sir. Model
Sir,
attribute, model and view we can use. Model mapper, that is used to copy. Suppose, for example, I have data in one product object,
okay.
and I want to copy the data from the product object to items object. Then you can use the model mapper concept. To copy the data from one object to another object, we can go for model mapper.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a direct class, sir. Model mapper is a direct
It's
class.
a predefined class, sir. It is a predefined component.
Okay, sir. Sir, to transfer the data to the time leaf, we need @model attribute, sir, or not needed actually?
Not required, sir. If you are using the class name as variable name, then it is not required.
Okay, sir. Okay.
It is not required. Okay. Any other questions, anyone? Anyone else having any other questions or
Sir,
no
I want
questions?
to share my screen, sir.
You want to share your screen? Okay, yeah, please share it and show me what is the issue you are facing. Yes, I can see the screen now.
Sir, I am facing issue at login registration.
Yeah, show me.
Sir, sir, you told me last session this doubt, sir, but I cannot get it, sir. Register get mapping may register two URL same URL there, sir. But it is not work. Sir. What means, sir?
So first method is used to load the registration page.
Sir, two get mappers name not same.
That is fine. You can, if the method type is different, URL patterns can be same, no problem. One is get method, another one is post method, /register/register. Scroll down. Yeah, this is fine. But yesterday you faced some problem with that, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Is that problem resolved or not resolved?
Not resolved, sir. User defined data not stored in database, sir. But data at the rate of timestamp and that way
User
ID
service dot save. Can you open service method? User service dot save. You are calling service layer method, na? User service IMPL. Open IMPL. User repository you are using. repository.save. This is fine. Can you run once and show me what is happening there?
It is like not like that, sir. It is
Go
not
to
same.
your console and show me console what is happening. Console,
It's
console. IDE console. Go to your IDE, show me the console. Your query is not executed. Query is not executed, sir. Okay, I will come to the institute today. I'm coming there. Okay,
Yes, sir.
there I will see the debugging and I will. Yesterday I came, I think I did not see you there. So I'm coming
Yes, sir.
today. We will see that issue what you are facing. I will debug that code in your system and we will find out what is the problem you are facing in that.
Okay, sir.
Okay, cool. Next one. Guys, I'm sharing my screen. Let me know once you guys are able to see my screen. Is my screen visible for everybody?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. Fine. Guys, here, as of now, in the Spring Web MVC, we have used TimeLeaf as a presentation technology. As presentation technology we used, right? Now we discussed in the demo session, Spring Boot Web MVC will support for multiple presentation technologies. Spring Web MVC will support for multiple presentation technologies. In support for multiple presentation technologies. So what are those multiple presentation technologies it is going to support? One is we can use TimeLeaf for that, and another one is we can use JSP also. So to work with the TimeLeaf, we need to use TimeLeaf starter. So we added TimeLeaf starter as a dependency in our pom.xml, and we created TimeLeaf files in the resources folder templates. So this is our project. In that project we have resources, in that we have templates. So in the templates we have created our template files and we added them. So in the pom.xml we have added the dependency. At the time of creating the project, we added one dependency called TimeLeaf starter dependency. So if you want to work with TimeLeaf as a presentation technology, then we can use this TimeLeaf starter as a dependency. But suppose, for example, I don't want to go with TimeLeaf. I want to go with JSP as my presentation technology. Basically, this JSP is outdated concept, guys. So anybody using JSP in the industry nowadays? Guys, anybody using JSP in the industry nowadays, or people are not using JSP nowadays?
Not using.
People are using JSP, or people are not using JSP nowadays?
Not using.
People are not using JSP nowadays. Why JSP is not using nowadays? JSP got outdated in the market. JSP got outdated in the market. Okay. Now, suppose for example, if you want to use it, just I will show you one example here. Spring Boot with JSP example. Spring Web MVC. Just for our idea, you don't need to do the practice and all, guys. It is outdated already. Spring Web MVC with a JSP as presentation layer. Okay, what is the procedure we need to follow to develop our Spring Web MVC application with JSP as a presentation technology? So the first step, create Spring Boot application, the normal process. Create Spring Boot application with below dependencies. Create Spring Boot app with below dependencies. So what are the dependencies we need? One is a web starter, okay, and another one is DevTools. That's it. Okay, time leaf starter is not required because we are not using time leaf as a dependency. So create boot application with the below dependencies. One is a web starter and the second one is DevTools. And the third one is there is a dependency called Tomcat embed Jasper. If you want to use JSP as a presentation technology, one instead of time leaf, as we are using JSP, then we need to add Tomcat embed Jasper dependency here. We need a new dependency. That dependency is called Tomcat embed Jasper. This Tomcat embed Jasper dependency we can find out in mvnrepository.com. At the time of creating the boot application, that embed Jasper dependency will not be available for us. We need to copy that dependency from the mvnrepository.com and we need to add the dependency. So let us see here. First step, file, new project. So Spring Boot application I'm going to create, Spring Starter project. I'm giving some name for my project. So I'm giving the name as 02 Web MVC application, Web MVC JSP application. Okay, click on next, boot version web starter and DevTools dependency I'm using. Spring Web Starter and Spring Boot DevTools dependency I'm using. Click on next and click on finish. Now if you see Jasper, whatever the dependency I want, I'm not able to find out the dependency here. That is a third-party dependency. Manually, we need to add that dependency. Okay, click on next and click on finish. So with this, my MVC application got created. Meanwhile, let me go to that mvnrepository.com and let me find out the dependency that I need. mvnrepository.com. You go to this website and you search for the dependency which I need, Tomcat embed Jasper. You search for that. So Tomcat embed Jasper dependency is coming. You can take any version of this dependency and we need to add this dependency in our pom.xml. Okay, so copy this one. This is the dependency that we are going to take, Tomcat embed Jasper dependency. So for this, if you want to work with JSP as a presentation technology, then manually you need to take this embed Jasper dependency and you need to add that dependency in our pom.xml. If you are going for time leaf starter, we can add it directly. But as JSP is outdated in the market, people are not using JSP and Spring Boot also not giving this JSP dependency. Version is not required. Boot will take care of the version. You just add the group ID and artifact ID. So group ID is org.apache.tomcat.embed. Artifact ID Tomcat embed Jasper. So note this point. Embed Jasper, Tomcat embed Jasper dependency. Tomcat embed Jasper dependency. We need to get it from mvnrepository.com. Directly it is not available. At the time of creating the project, you can't select it. That IDE will not display. So that's why I'm going to get this dependency from the mvnrepository.com. So you need to add this dependency in the pom.xml. Then once it is added, then next step is create a controller. Create controller class with required methods. Create controller class with required methods. right? You know how to create a controller. So by using @controller annotation, you can create a controller class. New class dot controller is the package I'm using. So message controller something, any class just for demo purpose. Message controller. To represent this class as a controller, we are going to use one annotation that is called @controller annotation. We are using one annotation that is @controller annotation. Inside this controller, you can write a method, right? Whatever the method you want. Public string get welcome message. In the controller, no changes are required, guys. How we developed the controller earlier, in the same way we can develop our controllers. @get mapping / welcome, whatever the URL that you want to use. Then here I want to send the data from controller to UI, so we can take model as a parameter, and I want to return index. Index is going to be my page. Index is going to be my page name, right? So model object I'm taking as a parameter. That model is used to send the data from our controller to UI. So to send the data from controller to UI, we are using model dot add attribute key comma value. Key is a message and value is any text that you want to use. Okay, I'm using good morning here, something like this. So this is my controller. So whether it is a time leaf or whether it is JSP, any difference in the controller, or there is no difference in the controller, guys? Is there any difference in the controller, or there is no difference in the controller?
No difference.
There is no difference. Controller will have a method and a controller will return data in the form of key and value by using model object. Okay. So once this controller is created, then create the view pages. Okay. Create view pages. So here earlier we created view pages in the resources templates. Now we don't create in the resources templates. We will go to main Java files are available here. So we need to create one web application. Web app folder should be created. src main web app. We need to create new folder. Okay. So in the new folder, src main resources is available. I think we need to get web app folder. 1 minute. How the web app folder will come? New project, Spring Starter project. I think we need to select the packaging type as var. I forgot to select the packaging type as a var. Select web starter and dev tools. Next and finish. Whenever you are creating a web application with JSP, we need to select that with the var file. Then web app folder will come. src main Java. In the src folder, main, web app folder we need to create, guys. Okay, in the src main, I'm going to create a new folder called web app folder. Inside the web app folder, I will create one more folder called views folder. So if it is a time leaf, directly we can add them in the templates folder. Okay, but when you are creating with the JSP, so inside the src main, I created web app. In that I created views. In that we are going to create the JSP file. So to create the JSP file, I will use the file name as index.jsp. New file. The file name is index.jsp. So which is creating inside the web app views folder. Okay, the location can be anything. I created web app folder. So if you select the var file, create Spring Boot app with the below dependencies. So select var format. Select var as packaging format. Select var as packaging format so that you will get the web app folder. Create view pages inside web apps. Inside web app folder. So web app nothing but the web application content that we are going to keep in the web app folder. So here, this is my controller method. That controller is returning a index page, guys. That index page I'm going to keep inside the web app views folder. This is my controller method. I'm using @controller. So let me take this method class. This controller is returning a index page. That index page I'm going to create in this location. The location web app. Inside the web app, I'm creating one more views folder. Web app views. Then I'm creating the file with a name called index.jsp. Create view pages inside web app folder. Inside the web app, I created one more folder called views folder. You can create any folder, views or pages or anything. Index.jsp. So in this index.jsp, you can write your HTML tags, whatever that you want, or you can take your HTML structure from the Bootstrap. Okay, you can take the HTML structure from the Bootstrap here. Go to getbootstrap.com. In the documentation, you can take the basic Bootstrap HTML. In the JSP also, you can add this Bootstrap. Right. Then inside this, you can write a div class is equal to container. A container div we are adding. Inside this, we want to display the message. So the message is key. To access that key, just $of message. So if it is a timely th:\text. If it is a JSP, directly $of key. My controller is sending the key as a message. Directly that message we can access in the view page by using $of message. Then another most important thing that we need to do, configure view resolver. For time leaf, this view resolver configuration not required, guys. If you are using time leaf as a presentation technology, no need to configure the view resolver. But if you are using JSP as a presentation technology, then you need to configure view resolver here. Okay, configure view resolver in application.properties file. Configure view resolver in application.properties file. So go here, application.properties, view resolver you need to configure. Remember, for time leaf, this is not required. When you are working with JSP, then it is required. For time leaf, it is not required, but for JSP, it is required. So what is the meaning of a view resolver? In the initial classes, we already discussed. What is the meaning of a view resolver, guys? Come on. What is the purpose of a view resolver?
Taking input as a view name.
What is the role of a view resolver?
Identify view file location.
View file location.
View resolver is basically to identify where the presentation file is available in the project. For that, we are going to configure spring.view.prefix is equal to /webapp/views. Web app is not required. Views. So whatever the folder you created, then spring.mvc.view.suffix is equal to .jsp. So I created my view folder, view pages inside the web app, inside the views folder. Okay, so my view resolver prefix, I'm telling to the view resolver where my presentation files are available. Inside the web app views folder, in the views folder index.jsp is available. So I'm going to tell what is my prefix and what is my suffix. This is my view resolver configuration. This is my view resolver configuration. Spring MVC view prefix is equal to /views. Spring MVC view suffix is equal to .jsp. Are you clear with my point? So Spring Web MVC with JSP as a presentation layer. So create a boot application with below dependencies. For that, we are selecting WAR file as a packaging format. Web starter we have used, DevTools we used, embed Jasper. This is a new dependency we are adding when we are working with JSP for the presentation. If it is a TimeLeaf UI, we will add the TimeLeaf starter. This embed Jasper we cannot get along with the project. And when you are creating the project, you can't select it. So that's why we are adding this manually by using mvnrepository.com. Embed Jasper dependency, we need to get it from mvnrepository.com. So this is our dependency. Then create the controller class with required methods. I created one controller. To represent our class as a controller, we will use @controller annotation. And we are writing one method that we map it to get request by using get mapping. Then create the view pages inside the web app folder. So this is the location for that, web app /views index.jsp. Inside the web app, third step, inside web app, create views folder, and create view pages. Create JSP pages. Location, web app, views. Inside the web app folder, create views folder and create JSP pages inside the views. The folder name not only views, guys, you can give the folder name as pages also. Anything is fine for that. So this is the location for this. Once it is done, then you configure file. You configure view resolver in the properties file. So what is the view resolver here? View resolver is used to identify where is the view file available and what is the location of that. What is the location of the view file? We are going to identify with the help of this view resolver. Once the view resolver is configured, run the application. Okay. Then finally you run your application. Good. So fine. Inside the view page, we are accessing the key by using this $of_message. Dollar is a expression which is used to access the value belongs to the key. All right. Are you clear with the 4 steps that I have used, guys? Are you clear with the 4 steps that I have used now? I created one project by selecting WAR as a packaging format. I added Tomcat embed Jasper. Then I created my controller class with required methods. Then I created my view pages. Okay, the view page I created inside the views folder. Then I configured view resolver in the properties file. Then finally run the application and I test it. Is it really working or not? JSP is really working or not? We need to test it. Okay, so now go here and run our application, refresh our project. Let us do the Maven update for the project. Do the Maven update, force update of the Maven project. Do the Maven update and right click and run the application. Run as boot application.
Sir, someone's mic is not muted and it continuously disturbing.
I kept them on mute. Yes, fine, guys. Now you can see that our application got started. In.Ashok application started. Tomcat server started. Tomcat server running on the port number 8080. Now go to browser and let us try to access our application. Okay. So our application is running on the Tomcat server with the port number 8080 and URL pattern is available with the /welcome. Okay. Go to the controller class and see that controller /welcome is available. Localhost :8080/welcome. So we should get the response from the JSP. Okay, /welcome URL mistake. Yes. Are we able to get the message in the JSP page, guys? Are we able to get the message in our JSP page or not? Yes, JSP is also working for the presentation. But tell me, which one is easy? JSP is easy or Timeleaf is easy? Guys, which one is easy? JSP or Timeleaf?
DSP.
Timeleaf. Directly, if you add the starter, you can work with the HTML files for the presentation. When you go for the JSP, you need to add the embed Jasper dependency manually, and you need to create the views inside the web app folders and all, and you need to configure the view resolver. When you go for Timeleaf, all these things are not required. When you go for Timeleaf, all these things are not required. Very good.
Sir,
So
when we are creating Timeleaf like folder, subfolder for HTML page, that
HTML
traffic is
pages,
edited.
HTML pages directly you can create inside the templates folder. But JSPs you need to create inside the web app folder. That is the difference. Because Timeleaf is a HTML, it can be directly executed in the browser. Whereas the JSP pages cannot be executed in the browser. For the JSP pages, conversion is required. Every JSP page should be converted into servlet. So we need to follow this structure when we are working with different presentation technologies. You got my point?
Yes.
Any question on this one? How to use JSP as a presentation technology? Any questions on this? How to use JSP as presentation technology? Perfect. Okay, good. So can we quickly summarize what we have learned in the Spring Web MVC as of now, guys? What are the topics that we have learned as part of our Spring Web MVC concepts? What are the concepts we have learned as part of our Spring Web MVC so far? Can anyone tell me the topics that we learned in the Spring Web MVC so far? Come on, guys. What are the topics that we have learned in the Spring Web MVC? Can anybody tell me the names of the topics?
How to handle global exception as a globally.
From starting onwards. What
Annotation.
you learned in the Spring Web MVC from starting onwards?
Architecture.
Annotation.
Yeah, first we discussed about what is the Spring Web MVC. We discussed about what is Spring Web MVC. Okay, and we discussed about Spring Web MVC architecture. Okay, can anyone tell me what is the purpose of Spring Web MVC? Why we are learning this Spring Web MVC, guys? Why we are learning this Spring Web MVC concept?
To develop the distributed
Yes.
applications.
Spring
and the web
Web
applications.
MVC basically used to develop a web application. So if you want to develop a web application by using Spring Framework, then we are going to use this Spring Web MVC module, right? What is the Spring Web MVC? It is used to develop a web application as well as it is used to develop the distributed applications also. Then we discussed about Web MVC architecture. So in the WebMVC architecture, we discussed how the request will be handled by WebMVC application. What is dispatcher servlet? So here we learnt about dispatcher servlet. Dispatcher servlet is going to act as a front controller in order to handle the request coming to our application. Dispatcher servlet we have seen, and we discussed about handler mapper. Whenever a request comes, handler mapper is going to identify who is sending that request, okay, and which controller is responsible to handle that request. Then we have seen controller here, and we have seen model and view component is available, and view resolver is available, and view is available. So these are the main components which are available in the MVC architecture: dispatcher servlet, handler mapper, controller, model and view, view resolver, and view. Dispatcher servlet is a front controller that is responsible to take the request from the client and send the response to the client. Internally, the dispatcher servlet will be talking to handler mapper, controller, model and view, view resolver, and view component. So handler mapper is responsible to identify which request should be handled by which controller. Controller is responsible to do the request processing. Controller will return model and view as a response. Model will represent data in the form of key and value. View represents logical file name. And what is view resolver? View resolver is responsible to identify the view location where the presentation files are available, and view component is also available. And the next one, here we discussed about so building first web application development. First web application development by using Spring Web MVC, and we discussed about form development, form binding objects, form bindings. So can anyone tell me what is the meaning of a form binding in the Web MVC? Guys, what is the meaning of form binding in the Web MVC?
Binding the model object into the form.
Yes, we are going to bind our form data to the model object. So that is called form binding concept. If you want to bind your form data to the model object, then we can go for this form binding concept. So we are able to implement this form binding concept also in the Spring Web MVC application. Okay, then after this, we have developed one application, Spring Web MVC, with the data JPA integration. We are able to develop Spring Web MVC student management application development, students management app development. Okay, in this we have integrated Web MVC plus data JPA plus time leaf. So by integrating Web MVC, data JPA time leaf, we developed our student management application, inserting the student, retrieving the students, and deleting the students also we have implemented by using this application. Okay, in this application we integrated Web MVC with the data JPA plus time leaf. So that means basically we discussed about layered architecture development. Layered architecture. So what is the meaning of layered architecture development? So presentation layer will be separate, web layer will be separate, business layer will be separate, data access layer will be separate. Instead of developing everything in one single class, we are dividing our application functionalities into multiple layers, which is called layered architecture. Presentation layer, web layer, business layer, data access layer also we have implemented. Then we discussed about email sending in the Spring Boot. So all of you able to send the emails by using Spring Boot application? All of you able to send the emails by using Spring Boot application? We have implemented email sending concept in the Spring Boot. Email sending in Spring Boot application. Okay. Then after this one, we discussed about After email sending
Exception.
concept, we discussed about how to handle exceptions in the WebMVC. Spring WebMVC exception handling. Okay, exception handling in Spring WebMVC concept. So you can use controller based, class based handling, and we can use global handling also. There is a concept called class based handling is available, and global handling is also available. Okay, what is the difference between class based handling and global handling, guys? Class based handling and global handling, what is the difference for that?
Class-based handling, if any exception will occur particular to that class
It is
itself,
responsible to
and
handle the exceptions related to only particular class.
that
So if you are
particular
going
class.
to handle the
And
exceptions related to particular class, then it is called as class based exception handling. If you want to handle the exceptions related to all the applications, then you can go for global exception handling. You can go for global exception handling. Then we also implemented user defined exceptions. User defined exceptions handling. Okay, you can create your own exception and you can handle that exception also. That is called user defined exception handling concept in the Spring Web MVC. Controller advice, exception handler annotations we have used. Then we discussed about embedded containers in the Spring Boot. We have seen a concept called embedded container in Spring Boot. So by default, we are getting Apache Tomcat as a default embedded container. Spring Boot will support for 3 embedded containers. Out of those 3, the default embedded container is a Tomcat. If you don't want, you can change from the Tomcat to Jetty also. We have seen practically how to change from the Tomcat to Jetty. Then we have seen how to work with embedded database in the Spring Boot. Working with the H2 database. Working with embedded containers in Spring Boot and embedded databases in Spring Boot. What is the meaning of embedded database, guys?
H2 database.
What is embedded database?
In-memory database.
In-memory database. So any database that you want to use for temporary purpose, then you can go for embedded database concept, which is H2. You no need to download and you no need to install the database for your application. So in the company laptops, you can't install the databases directly. So at that time, you can use this in-memory database for your practice and you can use it for POC development, nothing but proof of concept. Proof of concept. And the next, we discussed about server-side validations using Spring Boot. Form validations in Spring Boot. Form validations using Spring Boot. So form validations we can implement in 2 ways. One is called as client-side validation. Next one is called server-side validation. Client-side validation will execute at the browser only. If the form data is valid, then only the request will be sent to the server. But if you implement only client-side validation, there is a chance people can disable the client-side validations in the browser settings. So that's why we will implement client-side validations as well as we will implement server-side validations also. Okay, so to implement the server-side validations, we have seen some annotations also, like @ not empty, @ not null, size annotation, email annotation. Some annotations are available in order to implement form validations in our application. Then we have seen working with JSP as presentation. Spring WebMVC plus JSP. Spring WebMVC plus JSP application development. So earlier we used TimeLeaf as a presentation technology. Today I have shown you one simple sample application how to use JSP as presentation layer, but JSP is outdated. People are not using JSP in the market. Just for your idea purpose, how to configure JSP for the presentation. I have shown you one example. Okay, and these are the topics that we have learned from Spring Web MVC module, guys. These are the topics that we have learned from Spring Web MVC module. What is Spring Web MVC? Spring Web MVC architecture. First, web application development. We are able to develop our application. Form binding concept. Okay, how to map our form data to the object and how to map object data to the form. We are able to understand by using form binding concept. And we also understood layered architecture development, and we are able to develop one student management application, CRUD operations basically. So insert, update, retrieve, delete, CRUD operations. So here we integrated WebMVC application with the data JPA with time leaf. WebMVC to develop the controllers, data JPA to communicate with the database. Time leaf we used for presentation layer development. And we are able to understand how to send emails by using Spring Boot. Java mail sender concept is available to send the emails in the Spring Boot. And in the email sending also, we have two concepts here. One is simple mail message concept is available. Another one is my message concept is available. If you want to send a plain email, then you can use simple mail message concept. If you want to send some formatted emails, then you can go for my message concept. And we are able to understand exception handling concept also in the Spring Web MVC. Class-based handling, global handling, user-defined exception handling we have implemented. So here, to handle the exceptions, we used annotations. Controller advice, exception handler annotations we used. So as of now, we used the annotations like controller, get mapping, post mapping, request param, exception handler, controller advice annotation, and we used one more annotation called @model attribute annotation. So that is equal to model to store the data in the model in the form of key and value. So any data that you want to send from controller to UI, you can do that by using model attribute. And the JPA annotations we used entity, table, ID, generated value, column, timestamp, creation timestamp, update timestamp, query annotations we used. And for the form validations, we used some annotations. So for form validations, we used a few more annotations. What are those annotations we used? @not empty annotation we used, and @not null annotation we used, and we used email annotation, and we used size annotation. So these annotations we have used to perform form binding concept with the form validations, right? So when we are using form validations using Spring Boot with the binding result. So binding result is an object which will tell you your form validations are successful or failure. Binding result is used to specify your form validations are successful or failure. Binding result dot has errors, nothing but your form validations are failed. Binding result dot has errors. If the form validations are failed, has errors will give you true. That means you need to handle that scenario and send the error message back to the form. Right? WebMVC plus JSP application also we developed. Right. So look at the annotations: controller, get mapping, post mapping, request param, exception handler, controller advice, model attribute, entity, table, ID, generated value, column, creation timestamp, updated timestamp, @query annotation is there. And not empty, not null, email, size annotations we have used here. Are you guys clear with my point? What are the concepts we have learned in the WebMVC for our application development? What is Spring WebMVC? This is one of the module available in the Spring framework. One of the module which is available in the Spring framework.
Sir, in user,
it is used to develop both web
in
applications.
user defined.
Somebody is speaking, please go on mute. So we understood what is web application development, guys. So here Spring Web MVC concept we are using. Spring Web MVC is one module here. Spring Web MVC is one module that is used for our web application development, as well as we can do the distributed application development also by using Web MVC. So in Web MVC, the architecture, handler mapper, dispatcher servlet, handler mapper, controller, view resolver, model and view components are available. So to develop the web application, we have used web starter dependency. First web application development, for that we used web starter dependency, and we have implemented form binding concept also, and we are able to develop the project with layered architecture. That means instead of developing everything in one class, we are creating multiple layers in order to develop our application. Presentation layer, web layer, business layer, DAO layer, like that. Multiple layers will be available in order to develop our application. You got my point? Multiple layers will be available in order to develop our application. And student management system. So we developed one application where we performed CRUD operations, insert the data, delete the data, and retrieve the data. Then we are able to send the emails by using our Spring Boot application. So to send the emails in the Spring Boot, we used Gmail SMTP properties here. Okay, we need to generate the app password. Using that app password, we can send the emails here. Right, simple message if you want to send a normal message, my message if you want to send the attachment and all. Exceptions, when our application is executing, getting the exception is a very common scenario. So we should be able to handle the exception. Class level you can handle, global exceptions also you can handle. Then we discussed about how to work with user defined exceptions also in the Spring Boot, and we are able to use containers. So when you develop a web application in general, a server is required in order to run your web application. But the beauty with the Spring Boot, you no need to bother about the server. Spring Boot only providing a server, which is called embedded container to run our application. Embedded containers in the Spring Boot, embedded databases in the Spring Boot, we are going to use. Without downloading and installing the server, we can run our application. Without downloading and installing the server, we can run our application. Okay, embedded database setup also you no need to do. Spring Boot is going to provide that for you. Form validations we are able to perform using Spring Boot with the help of binding result. And Web MVC plus JSP combination, we are able to develop one application. Okay, so this is about Spring Web MVC concept. So MVC is not completed, guys, because REST API development also we are going to do with the MVC topics only. So whatever the topics, whatever the controller, dispatcher servlet, handler mapper that we have used here, so all these things again we are going to learn in the REST API development. Okay, and there is another topic that we need to discuss, actuator. What is actuator? What is the purpose of actuator that we have to learn? That is going to be our next topic. Any questions anybody having?
Sir, how to do the session management, sir?
Yes, sir. Session management also I will explain. Session management, basically, any idea, guys? What is the session? Why we need to go for a session? Any idea? Did you learn the session concept in the servlet?
For user, when a request is coming, that every time that session.
Did anybody learn session concept in the servlet? First of all, what is the session? Why we need to go for session?
Sir, based on suppose sir there is one user and sir that user sir log in to log out, sir. So
yes, sir. So session is basically to maintain user identity from login to till logout. Okay, so when user login into the application till that user log out from the application, we are going to use a session. Okay, so session management, that means once I will log in into my application, so till I log out from the application, my data will be maintained in the session. Okay, suppose for example, if you log in into Amazon, okay, it will display your orders. If I log in into Amazon, it will display my orders. Are you getting my point? If you log in into Amazon application, your orders will be displayed. If I log in into Amazon application, my orders will be displayed. So that means application will remember which person logged in. So that's where we need to implement session concept in the project. So how to deal with the session? How to use session in the web MVC application, guys? How to deal with the session? What is the HTTP session? What is HTTP session in web application development? So if you see in the morning JRTP, we developed one mini project. In that project, we used this session concept only. So what is HTTP session in the web application? So session is used to store user data from login to till logout. Session is used to maintain user identity. Session is used to maintain user identity. Is used to maintain user identity from login to till logout. So example, if I log in into Amazon, if I log in into Amazon application, it will display my orders history. It will display my orders history. If you log in into Amazon application, it will display your orders history. Okay, so if I log in into Amazon application, that Amazon application will display only my orders history. If you log in into Amazon application, if I log in into Amazon application with my credentials, then it will display only my orders history. Only my orders history. This is example scenario. If you log in into Amazon, application with your credentials, then it will display only your orders history. It will display only your orders history. So that means Amazon application is recognizing, is able to remember or recognize who is logged in. So that's where session concept comes into picture. So when you are developing any web application, this session is required. When user login into the application, we will store user identity in the session. When user log out from the application, then we will remove the user object from the session. Okay, what is this HTTP session in web application development? Session is used to maintain user identity from login to till logout. So if I log in into Amazon application, then with my credentials, then it will display only my orders history. If you log in into Amazon application with your credentials, then it will display only your orders history. So that means Amazon application is able to remember or recognize who is logged in into application. So same concept, if we want to implement, then we need to go for session concept. So for example, if you see in the Ashoka IT website also, if you log in, your courses will display. If I log in, my courses will display. If somebody log in, their courses will be displayed. That means who is logged in into the application, based on that person identity, application will display the data. Are you guys able to follow me? And WhatsApp also. If I open WhatsApp, my chat history will be displayed. If you log in into the WhatsApp, your chat history will be displayed. If I log in into the WhatsApp, my chat history will display. If you log in into the WhatsApp, your chat history will be displayed. That means the application is able to recognize who is logged in into the application. The application able to remember who is logged in into application. Okay, how we will implement this session concept. Okay, so how to implement session in the web MVC application. Suppose for example, if there is a login method is available, for example, this is our login method. So in this login method, HTTP servlet request we are going to take as a parameter. Using this request, we can create the session. Whenever there is a login method, so in that login method, if login is successful, then we will take request dot get a session of true. Get a session of true. That means it is going to create the new session object. Whenever you use get session of true, new object will be created. Session dot set attribute that user ID or user email, whatever that you want, you can store it. Okay, like this you can store the object in the session. Like this you can store the object in the session. So whenever user login is successful, if login success, then store user ID in session. So request that get session of true. So true means it will give the new session. Okay, we will get the session object. In that session, we can store the user data by using set attribute method. Okay, so once the user is logged out, then what we are going to do here, we will get the existing session object and we will remove the session object from the application. Whatever the data I'm storing in the session, you can access this session data anywhere in the application. Okay, let me go for servlet request dot get a session of false. At the time of login, new session will be created. Okay, at the time of logout, whatever the session is available, get a session of false. Session object we are going to get session dot invalidate. Invalidate means we are going to remove that session object. So in the application, when you want to remember the user data who is logged in, so at the time of login, a new session will be created and that user object will be stored in the session. Then once the ID is there in the session, in any method, order history, payment history, wherever you want to get the user data, you can use the session that get attribute of key, you will get the value. When user is logged out from the application, then we will get the existing session. You see, in the login, I am calling get session of true. In the logout, I am calling get session of a false value. Get a session of true means always it will give the new session when the login is successful. Get a session of a false means get the existing session object for closing it. Get existing session object. Get existing session object. Get session of a false. Then session dot invalidate, that object will be removed from the session. So this is the sample scenario how you need to deal with the session in the web application. So when user is logged in, we will store user ID in the session object. User dot get user ID. When user is logged in, the user object will be available, right? From the user object, we are going to get the user ID and we will store that in the session. When user is logged out from the application, we will get the existing session by using get session of a false value and we will make it as invalidate. Session dot invalidate. So this is the basic idea. How to create the session, how to store the data in the session. For example, I want to get the orders history. When user is logged in, that session object will be available. And when we want to get the order history of the user, okay, login is basically we are going to do a post mapping. And when user login successful and when we want to get the orders of the user, Based on the user ID only, you need to get the orders. So how do you know which user orders you need to get? So that's where from the session we need to get the orders. Get session of false. Already user logged in, want to get the orders. Get session. Then we will use the session dot get attribute of user ID. Already the data stored in the session, we will get that user ID. Integer user ID. Based on this user ID, we can get the orders of the user who logged in into the application. Based on user ID, get orders. Whatever the orders you have, based on your logged in user ID, we will get the orders. Now you see the flow. First user will log in. If user credentials are successful, then I will create a new session and user ID I will store in the session. For that, session.set attribute key comma value. When user go to order page, I will get the session false, existing session. I don't want to create new session. Only when user login, then only session will be created. When user go to orders page, get session of false, get the existing session. Session dot get attribute of user ID. I will get the ID which I have stored. Based on the ID, I will get the orders. When user log out from the application, get the existing session and call session dot invalidate. Session dot invalidate means that session will be removed. When the user log out, we are going to remove the session object. When user log out, then session object will be removed. So like this, when you are developing user login based applications, then you can use session concept like this. So when to create the session, how to store the data in the session, how to get the data from the session, and how to implement logout functionality. Session.invalidate, which is used to remove the session object. What is the purpose of a session in the web application? Session is used to maintain user identity from login to till after login success to identity after user login success to till user logout. Till user logout from the application. Session is used to maintain user identity after user login success to till user logout from the application. So example, if I log in into Amazon application with my credentials, then it will display only my order history. If you log in into application with your credentials, then it will display only your orders history. So that means Amazon is able to remember or recognize who is logged in into the application. Based on logged in user, they are giving the data. How they will maintain logged in user data? When the user login successful, that user ID will be stored in the new session object. When user go to orders page, from the session they will get the user ID, then they will fetch the orders based on the user ID and they will display. When you log in, your ID will come from the session. When I log in, my ID will come from the session. And when we log out from the application, they will invalidate the session. That means they will delete the session object. And the session is specific to the browser. So for every browser, one session object will be created. Session is specific. Session is specific to browser. If you log in from two different browsers, then two sessions will be created. So in every browser, one session object will be created. If you log in into application from a different browser, then new session will be created. Session is specific to browser, guys. You got the basic idea how people will use session object in the project? Yes, you got the idea how people will use a session object in the project.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, hello.
So sometimes it says session timed out even after login.
Session timeout we can set. Whenever you create the session object, you can set the timeout for the session. Session dot set a max inactive interval. So max inactive interval you can set it. So sometime like 60 seconds, 1 minute. If you don't use application for 1 minute, your session will become invalidated. You can set the time interval for that.
Okay, and another question is, are cookies related with sessions, sir?
Sorry?
Cookies related with session.
Cookies are browser, but cookies we should not use. Cookies are not secure. Cookies will store the data in the browser, so that's why it is not secure to use cookies.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
So this order user ID already we have to store the
Data
order
JPA
details in the
associations
database. Sir.
happening, sir. You teach not, sir.
Sir, two people are speaking at a time.
Sir, in data JPA association concept happening, so you can teach or
Sir,
not,
your
sir.
voice is not coming, sir. I think your voice is very low for me.
Sir, in data JPA association concept pending, sir.
Yes, sir, that is pending. That is not completed. Correct.
You teach or not, sir? That
I will
concept.
teach, sir. It is part of syllabus.
Okay, sir. And small notes, sir. Sir, in banner, you can create a banner. You can alphabets comes. You can, for example, you can take a Gmail background. You can Gmail symbol in front to Gmail. These types of you can develop a sir banner file, sir.
Can you speak in Telugu, sir? I'm not understanding.
What? Okay, sir. అంటే ఇప్పుడు మనం బ్యానర్ క్లాస్ లో ఓన్లీ మనం బ్యానర్ క్రియేట్ చేసినప్పుడు మనకు అక్కడ బ్యానర్ ఆల్ఫాబెట్ లో స్ప్రింగ్ బూట్ అని బ్యానర్ కనబడుతుంది వస్తుంది కదా సార్ మనం సెట్
You can customize the banner in the Spring Boot. Yes.
ఓకే సార్ మనం ఇప్పుడు ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ జీమెయిల్ తీసుకుని బ్యాక్గ్రౌండ్ జీమెయిల్ బ్యాక్గ్రౌండ్ సింబల్ ముందర ఆల్ఫాబెట్స్ వస్తాయి కదా సార్ అలా మనం సెట్ చేయగలమా సార్ బ్యానర్
That is UI, sir. That whatever the logo, that is UI. Banner is it will print on the console. That's it. It is not for the UI. Spring Boot banner is not for UI. Spring Boot banner will display only in the console. Okay, in the UI, if you want to display the logo, that is presentation. CSS, Bootstrap we will use for the UI part. Guys, are you clear? How we will create the session? How we will set the data to session? How we will get the data from the session? And how we will remove the session?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, this user ID, we need to store the orders in the database, sir, using that user ID.
Yes, sir. In the order table, which user placed that order, user ID will be stored in the database table. No?
Okay, sir. Okay.
Which user stored which user placed this order? Because Amazon will get so many orders in a day. Which
Yes,
order
sir.
placed by which user, they need to maintain that data. Otherwise, how they will deliver that? Otherwise, how we will track it?
Yes, sir. Just like a primary key, sir. Is it a
Yes.
primary key?
Yeah.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, hi.
Yeah, sir. When the RESTful service batch will start, sir?
Yes, sir. So we are planning to start the REST API in another 2 to 3 days, sir. 1 or 2 topics I will explain. Then we will start the REST API concept.
Okay. Along with the microservice also, no, sir?
Yeah, REST APIs, microservices, cloud, those topics. Another 30 to 40 days of time it will take for us, sir, to complete all the pending topics.
Okay, sir. Sure.
Okay. Yeah. Fine, guys. So, and one more thing, in the real time nowadays, this session concept also will not be used, guys. Why? Because if you are developing a monolithic application, then only session concept will be used. If you are developing microservices application, session concept will not be used in the project. Currently, anybody developing monolithic or people are going with microservices?
Hello, sir.
Microservice.
When you are going for microservices, when your backend and front end is separate, then HTTP session will not be used.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, hi.
Sir, I want to share my screen, sir. I got one error.
Yeah, you can share your screen.
సార్ ఇన్ బిట్వీన్ జీమెయిల్లో లాగిన్ అయినప్పుడు కింద మన ఐడి చూపిస్తుంది కదా సార్ అంటే అది సెషన్ మెయింటైన్
They
చేస్తున్నా
will maintain that, but not with the session. They will maintain with the tokens.
Sir, can you able to see my screen, sir?
Yes, I can see.
Sir, this was the problem, sir. I am every time I am running my application, it will showing like this form only, sir. And
What is the problem?
sir, what is the
Spring
generated password?
security.
Sir, you added Spring security dependency in the pom.xml. Sir, you remove that. I have not explained the security topic as of now.
Hello, sir.
Sir, I'm talking to you only. Remove the security dependency from the pom.xml.
Sir, there is no security.
In the pom.xml, it is there, sir. Spring, go to project pom.xml.
Sorry.
Which project you are using running in that project pom.xml, Spring security dependency added, you remove that dependency.
This, sir. There is no Spring security starter, sir.
Can you right click on your project and close other projects? Which project you are running? There are three projects available. Which project you are running? Can you right click and close the remaining projects?
Hello, sir, your voice is not clear.
Right click on your project and close the remaining projects, sir. Three projects are there, you are confused. Which project you are running, which pom.xml you are opening. Right click on the project and close the remaining projects.
Yes, sir.
Close unrelated projects. Balram, close unrelated projects in your IDE.
Sir, your voice is not clear, sir. That's why.
Guys, can you hear my voice?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
It's properly coming.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he is having some mic issue.
Sir, can you repeat this?
Right click and close unrelated projects.
Right click on project, sir.
Right click and close unrelated project, or give me screen control. I will do that for you. Give me screen control. Guys, can somebody tell him he's not able to hear my voice?
Right
Can
click on
you
project
please
and
go
close.
back to the
Close that.
now?
Sir, okay.
Okay.
Can I run again, sir?
Sir, your Eclipse also having some problem. Always it is giving error. MySQL connector you added it 2 times. Why you added one project dependency in another project? Registration app is added in this project as a dependency. That is the problem. Okay, now you can run your project. There are so many issues in the project now. Can you delete this project and can you recreate, sir? Because you added one project dependency in another project, so you have done some mistakes here. Okay. And lot of exceptions you are getting in the IDE also. I suggest you to use Spring Tool Suite IDE to develop these projects. Can you hear me? Balram,
Sir,
can you hear me?
I cannot, sir, I cannot hear you. Your voice is breaking, sir.
Send me a message in the WhatsApp group, sir. I can't speak to you. Your mic is having a problem. I can't talk to you. Send me a message in the WhatsApp group. We'll see that.
Okay, sir.
Okay, good. Guys, thank you. So
Thank
please do this practice. Tomorrow we'll meet and we'll discuss about actuators in the Spring Boot.